Chapter 21. Isabella wrung out the washcloth in the ceramic basin. Steam rose from the water, carrying the sharp tang of antiseptic. Pre-dawn light filtered through the bedroom's partially closed blinds, bathing everything in a cool blue glow that made Mikhail's skin appear almost luminous against the white sheets. His eyes followed her as she approached the bed again, their intensity undiminished despite his injuries. "You don't have to do this," he said, his voice a low rumble that seemed to vibrate through the quiet room. "I know." She sat on the edge of the mattress, hyper-aware of his bare chest, just inches from her hands. The silver-tinged scar near his heart looked angry and raised against his otherwise flawless skin, a starfish-shaped blemish that spoke of terrible pain. Isabella pressed the warm cloth against it with practiced gentleness, and he hissed through clenched teeth, muscles tensing beneath her touch. "Sorry. Don't be," he whispered, his expression softening as he watched her work. "It's strangely nice to be tended to." Isabella raised an eyebrow, a small smile tugging at her lips. Strangely, a ghost of a smile touched his lips, transforming his face from dangerous to disarmingly boyish. "Werewolves aren't accustomed to needing medical attention. We heal." He flexed his hand demonstratively, the cuts from earlier already sealed into thin pink lines. "Except for silver wounds." She gently dabbed at the damaged tissue, noting how it refused to knit together like his other injuries. Mikhail's jaw clenched, a muscle ticking beneath the stubble there. Family means something different to werewolves. Pack bonds are stronger than blood. But yes, Viktor Aldrich is my mother's brother. He stared at the ceiling, something ancient and pained flickering in his eyes. He was alpha of the Atlanta pack for nearly 40 years. And now you are. Isabella resumed her gentle ministrations, watching his face carefully, waiting for him to continue. Her touch became unconsciously more tender, responding to the vulnerability he was sharing. "I challenged him." Mikhail's hand rose to cover hers, his palm warm and calloused against her fingers. The contrast between his supernatural strength and this gentle touch made her breath catch. 18 years ago. It was... He broke off, something dark flashing across his features like storm clouds. "It's okay," Isabella murmured, turning her hand to squeeze his briefly. "You don't have to tell me." Yet even as she said it, she hungered to know more and understand this hidden world's rules. "I do, though." His eyes locked with hers, intense and vulnerable at once, his accent thickening slightly with emotion. "I want you to understand." The unspoken words hung between them. "Who I am, what I've done, why I am the way I am." Mikhail shifted, sitting up against the headboard. The sheet fell to his waist, exposing the lean muscle of his torso and the scattering of scars that shouldn't exist on a body that could heal itself. Each mark told a story of silver or fire, the only things that could permanently mark werewolf flesh. Viktor led the pack like a tyrant. His voice hardened, the alpha bleeding through his vulnerability. He believed wolves were superior to humans in every way, that we should rule, not hide. He treated humans like cattle, prey to be used. Isabella's stomach tightened, her mind conjuring images from case files. Dried blood, vacant eyes. "Used how?" She kept her voice level and professional, though her hand had stilled on his chest. "However, he wanted." Mikhail's expression darkened, disgust evident in the curl of his lip. "Some for entertainment, some for food." Some for turning if they had something he wanted. Money, connections, power. That's... Isabella struggled to find words adequate to her horror, her legal vocabulary failing her. Barbaric. It's against everything the old laws teach, Mikhail agreed, his free hand curling into a fist beside him. Wolves and humans existed in balance for thousands of years. We are guardians of territory, not exploiters of it. He ran a hand through his disheveled hair, the gesture unexpectedly human for a creature so otherworldly. Viktor didn't care about balance. As the city grew, so did his appetite for power. Isabella thought of the case files, the bodies drained of blood, the distinctive claw marks that matched no known animal. Her analytical mind pieced together decades of unsolved cases. These murders now, they're his signature, aren't they? Not a first-time killer. Mikhail nodded grimly, shadows playing across the planes of his face. He's killed this way for decades. The pack would clean up after him, make bodies disappear, fabricate evidence, bribe officials. His lip curled in disgust, self-loathing evident in his voice. I was raised to think it was normal. Our right. The confession hung in the air between them. Mikhail admitting complicity in a system that had protected a serial killer for decades. Isabella should have been repulsed, her sense of justice outraged. Instead, she wondered what she might have believed if raised in such an environment. What changed for you? Isabella asked softly, her clinical detachment giving way to genuine curiosity. Mikhail was quiet for a long moment, his gaze distant, seeing something beyond the plain walls of the safe house. His fingers absently traced the edge of his silver scar. There was a girl, human, 16, maybe 17. Viktor brought her to a pack gathering as his prize. His voice grew hoarse, cracking slightly on the final word. I can still smell her fear. She reminded me of my sister, who died when we were young. Something broke in me that night. Isabella's chest tightened at the raw pain in his voice. She reached out instinctively, her fingers tracing the hard line of his jaw, feeling the tension there. What did you do? I helped her escape. A ghost of a smile touched his lips, pride momentarily replacing the pain. Got her money, new ID, put her on a bus to California. His expression hardened again, hand rising unconsciously to the scar on his chest. Viktor found out. He gave me this. He gestured to the silver scar. As punishment. Said if I wanted to protect humans, I could experience their weakness. Isabella winced, imagining the agony of silver burning through supernatural flesh. How did you survive? Katerina found me, dragged me to safety. His eyes met hers, gratitude softening his features momentarily. I spent months recovering, building alliances within the pack. Many were tired of Viktor's cruelty, but feared him too much to act. When I was strong enough, I challenged him for alpha. You won. It wasn't a question. Isabella's eyes tracked over his powerful frame, imagining the battle. Barely. His hand moved unconsciously to the scar, fingers tracing its edges. Victory in a challenge means the loser submits or dies. I couldn't bring myself to kill my uncle, not even after everything. So, I exiled him instead. His mouth twisted, self-recrimination evident. Mercy, I now regret. Isabella absorbed this as she continued tending to his wound, her movements methodical despite the storm of emotions his story provoked. The magnitude of what he'd done, challenging a murderous alpha, reforming a pack steeped in generations of human exploitation, was staggering. She'd prosecuted crime families and taken down corrupt officials, but never faced anything of this scale. "So, these murders now," she said slowly, mentally assembling the case. "They're what? His revenge?" "Partly." Mikhail's eyes darkened, fingers flexing against the sheets. "But they're also strategic. Each victim has connections to my pack or our allies. He's eliminating those loyal to me, trying to weaken my position before re-challenging me." "Why me?" Isabella asked, the question that had haunted her since her world turned upside down finally finding voice. "Why involve me in all this?" Mikhail hesitated, something guarded flickering across his features. His eyes dropped from hers for the first time. "You were investigating the murders, getting too close to the truth. I was monitoring the case to keep our world hidden when I noticed something." He trailed off, looking uncharacteristically uncomfortable. "What?" She set the cloth aside, giving him her full attention, her instincts sensing a critical confession. "Viktor was watching you too." His expression grew troubled, protective instinct flaring in his eyes. "Too closely. I wanted to warn you off before you became his next target." Isabella set the cloth aside, understanding dawning. "You were protecting me?" "Trying to." He raked a hand through his hair, frustration evident in the sharp movement. "Instead, I dragged you deeper into danger." She smiled faintly, thinking of her history of charging headlong into risky situations. "I'm pretty good at finding danger on my own." His lips quirked, a glimpse of warmth amidst the serious conversation. "So, I've noticed." The humor faded quickly, his expression growing intense again. "The night we met at the gala, I'd planned to intimidate you, scare you away from the case. But then..." "Then what?" Isabella found herself leaning closer, drawn by the sudden change in his voice. His eyes met hers, their intensity stealing her breath. Even wounded, there was something magnificent about him, something that made her heart race. "I couldn't. Something about you." He shook his head slightly, as if puzzled by his reaction. "I've never been so instantly drawn to anyone, human or wolf." Heat bloomed across Isabella's skin, spreading from her cheeks down her neck. Not the flush of embarrassment, but something deeper, more primal. "I felt it too," she admitted quietly, her usual caution abandoned. "Even when I suspected you of murder." An unexpected laugh escaped him, rich and warm, transforming his face entirely. "You're extraordinary, Isabella Santos. A force of nature in human form." She smiled, momentarily flustered by his naked admiration, and reached for fresh bandages on the nightstand. "Hold still. Let me finish this." The professional tone couldn't quite mask the pleased note in her voice or the slight tremor in her hands. As she worked, Mikhail continued his story, telling her of Atlanta's hidden history, how werewolves had been part of the city since its founding, how they had influenced its development from the shadows, how different packs had carved out territories that still shaped neighborhood boundaries. So many of Atlanta's unexplained histories, the strange clusters of violence, mysterious fires, powerful families rising and falling overnight. "They're us," he explained, gesturing with his free hand. "Our conflicts, our politics, spilling into the human world." Isabella thought of her mother's unsolved murder, The case that had driven her into law enforcement. The evidence that never quite added up. She wondered suddenly if there might be connections she'd never considered. Supernatural elements that would explain the inconsistencies that had haunted her for decades. The thought sent a chill through her, racing goosebumps along her arms. "You're shivering," Mikhail noticed, reaching for her hand with unexpectedly gentle fingers. "Just tired," she lied, not ready to share that particular vulnerability. Then, changing the subject. "How many of you are there?" "In my pack, about 40. In Atlanta. Perhaps 100 wolves spread across 3 packs." He observed her reaction, gauging her ability to absorb more revelations. "We're not the only non-humans in the city. There are others." "Others?" Isabella paused in her bandaging, eyes widening. Her mind conjured impossible creatures from folklore. "What do you mean, others?" A small smile played on his lips, amused by her startled expression. "That's a conversation for another time, when you're not about to fall over from exhaustion." She secured the bandage with tape, professional demeanor returning. "There. Best I can do with the supplies you have." "It's perfect." He caught her hand, pressing her palm against the fresh bandage over his heart. Beneath it, she could feel his heartbeat's steady, powerful rhythm, stronger than a human's. "Thank you." The simple sincerity in his voice made her throat tighten. They sat in silence, connected by that simple touch, as the room gradually brightened with dawn's approach. Isabella found herself acutely aware of small details. The faint scars on his knuckles, the slight stubble darkening his jaw, the way his pupils dilated when he looked at her. "You should rest," she finally said, reluctantly moving to stand, her body protesting the loss of his warmth. His fingers tightened around hers, an unspoken request. "Stay." Something vulnerable flickered in his eyes, at odds with the powerful alpha persona. "Please." Isabella hesitated only momentarily before nodding, her usual caution abandoned in the face of his openness. Mikhail shifted to make room, and she slid beneath the covers beside him, careful not to jostle his injury. He drew her against his side, her head resting naturally in the hollow of his shoulder, as if their bodies recognized an alignment their minds were still negotiating. His scent enveloped her, pine, leather, and something wild she couldn't name, but that reminded her of forests after rain. His skin radiated heat like a furnace, and she melted against him despite her intention to maintain some professional distance. Her body betrayed her, seeking his warmth instinctively. "Your heart is racing," he murmured, his breath stirring her hair, sending a shiver down her spine. "Lichen hearing," she said, half accusation, half question, painfully conscious of the thundering pulse that betrayed her composed exterior. His chest rumbled beneath her cheek, with the sound, the vibration oddly comforting. "I can control it most of the time, filter things out, but some things I can't help noticing." "Like?" She tried to keep her tone casual, though she was acutely aware of her body's responses to his proximity. "Your heartbeat," he said softly, one hand coming up to stroke her hair with feather-light touches. "Your scent changes with your emotions, the way your breath catches when I touch you." Heat bloomed across her skin, embarrassment mingling with something else. The strange intimacy of being known in ways beyond her control. "That's invasive." "It's instinct." His fingers traced idle patterns on her shoulder, each touch sending tiny sparks through her. "I'm sorry if it makes you uncomfortable." "It's not that," she said after a moment, struggling to articulate the complex feeling. "It's just uneven ground. You can read things in me I can't hide, but you... I'm an open book to you, Isabella." His voice dropped lower, vibrating through her with unexpected intensity. "More than you realize. More than I've been with anyone in a very long time." She tilted her head to study his face, finding his expression completely unguarded, the careful control he usually maintained nowhere to be seen. Vulnerability wasn't something she associated with predators. Yet here it was, raw and honest. In this moment, he was offering her a gift as precious as the supernatural secrets he had revealed. His truest self. "I believe you," she whispered, reaching up to trace his jawline with gentle fingers. His lips curved in a smile that transformed his entire face, softening the hard edges and making him look startlingly young. Isabella's phone chimed, shattering the moment. She reluctantly pulled away to check it, instantly alert despite her exhaustion. The screen showed a GPS alert from Damon's phone, suddenly activated after being off the grid for hours. The coordinates pointed to the abandoned water treatment plant by the river. "Mikhail," she said, sitting upright, all softness gone from her voice. "It's Damon." He was instantly alert, pain forgotten as he looked at the screen, his body tensing beside her. "It's a trap." "Obviously," she agreed, already analyzing the situation. "But it's also our only lead." Their eyes met, and in that moment, Isabella realized how deeply their lives had already intertwined. This wasn't just her assistant in danger. It was someone Mikhail was prepared to risk himself for, simply because Damon mattered to her. The realization was both terrifying and exhilarating. "We'll get him back," Mikhail said, his voice a promise etched in steel, all vulnerability replaced by alpha determination. Isabella nodded, already calculating moves and countermoves, compartmentalizing emotions to focus on the task ahead. "Yes," she said, "we will."